Football is a simple game. 22 men chase a ball for 90 minutes, and at the end, the Germans always win. You've probably heard that famous quote from the English striker Gary Lineker, right? It's an observation that perfectly captures the resilient, almost inevitable nature of German football. But as we're about to see, getting to that level of dominance was anything but simple, and it absolutely was not effortless.
Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you think the history of the German national team is just a straight boring line of trophies and triumphs, you are in for a serious surprise. This is a story built on surviving from the literal rubble. It's a fascinating cycle of devastating collapses and triumphant resurrections, where they have been counted out, written off, and humbled, only to rise again every single time.
So, here is how we're going to break down this machine. We'll start with their origins and early struggles, move into the legendary miracle of Bern, examine the Beckenbauer golden era, the post-reunification slump, the great youth reboot, and finally how they are facing a brand new era today.
Section 1. Origins and Early Struggles. Let's go all the way back to the late 19th century.
Believe it or not, back then, football wasn't a national obsession at all. It was actually viewed as this highly suspicious import from the British Isles. German traditionalists literally labeled the sport the English disease. See, at the time, German sporting culture was strictly centered around gymnastics, all about group harmony and rigid discipline. Football, with its focus on individual competition and running wildly around a pitch, was seen as way too individualistic. It was actually banned in many schools. But he can't stop a good game. By 1900, representatives from 86 clubs gathered in a Leipzig restaurant to form the DFB, giving German football a proper, organized foundation.
And man, it was a rocky start on the international stage. Their very first official match in 1908, a 5-3 debut loss to Switzerland. In fact, leading up to World War I, they played 30 matches and only won 6. But then you get these crazy flashes of raw, terrifying potential, like the 1912 Olympics, where they secured a record 16-0 win over Russia. Striker Gottfried Fuchs scored an incredible 10 goals in that single match. Just incredible whiplash.
Then, of course, the 20th century took its darkest turn, violently interrupting this growth. Following the devastation of World War II, the nation and its footballing identity was completely torn apart. When international football finally resumed, Germany was barred. And when they were allowed back, the sport was violently fractured into 3 distinct entities playing on the global stage: West Germany, East Germany, and for a short time, the Saarland under French control.
Section 2. The Miracle of Bern. From that fractured, war-torn landscape comes one of the most astonishing underdog stories in the history of sports.
We're talking about the 1954 World Cup in Switzerland. They called it Das Wunder von Bern, the Miracle of Bern. West Germany had to face the seemingly invincible Hungarian golden team led by the legendary Ferenc Puskás. Hungary was unbeaten in 32 matches. They'd already thrashed the Germans 8-3 in the group stages. Just let that sink in, an 8-3 thrashing. Everyone expected a bloodbath in the final. And sure enough, Hungary goes 2-0 up in just 8 minutes. But this West German squad, made up mostly of semi-pros, absolutely refused to fold. They clawed back, and Helmut Rahn struck a late winner to make it 3-2. This impossible comeback victory handed a shattered, divided nation its pride right back.
Now, I do have to mention a bit of historical debate attached to this triumph. Studies from places like Humboldt University allege the systematic use of a performance-enhancing amphetamine known as Pervitin by German players during that tournament. Team officials have long maintained they only gave the players vitamin C shots. And to be fair, FIFA didn't even have doping regulations until 1966. But regardless of where you stand on that debate, the undeniable fact is this victory fundamentally altered the psychology of the entire nation.
Section 3. Beckenbauer and the Golden Era. Fast forward to the 1970s, where German football undergoes a massive tactical revolution.
They transitioned from pure willpower to breathtaking elegance, and it was defined by 2 absolute legends. You've got Franz Beckenbauer, the Kaiser, who completely revolutionized the libero role. He acted as this sweeping defender who could seamlessly carry the ball forward and orchestrate the whole attack. And up front, Gerd Müller, Der Bomber. His scoring efficiency was just terrifying. 68 goals in just 62 international games. That duo powered West Germany straight to the summit of world football.
This golden era climaxed on home soil in 1974. The tournament had unbelievable drama, including a highly symbolic, shocking group stage loss to East Germany. But the West Germans regrouped and made it to the final to face Johan Cruyff's mesmerizing Dutch total football machine. Talk about tension.
West Germany actually goes down a goal in the very first minute before they've even touched the ball. Yet, they rallied. They figured out the Dutch system, fought back to win 2-1, and claimed their second World Cup title.
Section 4. Reunification and the slump. Let's jump to the 1990s and see how a peak of geopolitical and sporting triumph gave way to a shocking decline.
First, the peak. West Germany's third World Cup win in 1990, defeating Argentina 1-0 in Rome, beautifully foreshadowed the fall of the Berlin Wall. Beckenbauer made history by becoming the first to win as both captain and manager. Just months later, the nation reunifies, and the team is whole again. This unified squad went on to win Euro '96, powerfully propelled by Eastern stars like Matthias Sammer, who truly put a human face on this reunification. They seemed completely invincible.
But you know how it goes. Success breeds complacency. By the turn of the century, the magic had totally faded. The infrastructure was lagging, the squad had grown old, and it all culminated in a disastrous, winless group stage exit at Euro 2000. They suffered a humiliating 3-0 thrashing by Portugal's reserves. For a nation historically defined by footballing excellence, this was a full-blown catastrophe. It forced the country to take a really hard look in the mirror.
Section 5. The Great Youth Reboot. Instead of just making minor tweaks after that Euro 2000 disaster, the German Football Association did something extraordinary.
They ripped the entire system down to the studs. It was called the Dust Reboot. In 2001, the DFB mandated that all professional clubs had to build dedicated youth academies. They set up 121 regional training centers, which later grew to over 300, and started pumping 130 million euros annually into youth development. The goal was to cultivate a thrilling, modern attacking style and completely rebuild the national talent pipeline from scratch.
And wow, did it ever pay off. The ultimate reward for over a decade of massive youth investment was one of the most jaw-dropping scorelines in sporting history, 7-1, the 2014 World Cup semi-final. They absolutely dismantled the host nation, Brazil. This wasn't just a win, it was a demolition that sent shockwaves across the globe.
Just days after that historic semifinal, a beautiful 113th-minute extra-time volley by 22-year-old Mario Götze secured a 1-0 victory over Argentina. That won them their fourth star, 24 years after their last. It also made Germany the very first and, to this day, the only European nation to ever win a World Cup in the Americas. The reboot was a resounding, undeniable success.
Section 6. Facing a New Era. Yet, as history continually shows us, at the absolute summit of world football, the only direction left to go is down. Recently, Germany has hit a serious crossroads. We're talking shock group stage exits at both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups. They've also been navigating some really intense off-field social discussions, with high-profile players retiring amidst debates over migrant heritage and the team's demographic makeup. And then came that heartbreaking 119th-minute extra-time loss to Spain at Euro 2024. So what are they doing? Exactly what they always do, tearing down the old to rebuild. This time, anchoring their hopes on a dazzling new core of dynamic youth like Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer. But look, knowing their century-long history of rising from the ashes of defeat, of completely reinventing themselves when their backs are against the wall, it leaves us with one really provocative thought. Is counting out this newly rebuilt German machine the biggest mistake you could make? I mean, is that fifth star just a matter of time? Thanks for exploring the relentless history of German football with me.